started. Maybe if people want to mute because we're getting a lot of echoes. So hello and welcome to the Sierra Club Huron Valley Group's monthly program for December, coronavirus remote edition. Wish everybody season's greetings. Happy Hanukkah, Diwali, Kwanzaa, Christmas, solstice, New Year's, and any other seasonable celebration that I didn't think of. We are the Sierra Club Group representing Washtenaw, Monroe, and Lenawee counties. My name is Dan Ezekiel. I'm the chair of the executive committee. The Sierra Club is the nation's oldest and largest environmental group, and our motto is explore, enjoy, and protect the planet. If you aren't already a member, please join at sierraclub.org. And I want to thank Jamie McGarrett for facilitating our use of blue jeans tonight. And I'd like to mention that a few months ago, we had a crash of blue jeans during our meeting. I hope that's unlikely to happen again. But if it did happen, please stay on the link and we'll tell you in the chat how to continue with the meeting. What happened last time was the link came right back up, but we had lost about half our people by then. Let's take a moment to remember those who have passed away from COVID, those who have been sick, those who have lost someone or had a family member sick, our essential workers and our first responders, also for those who are in need or hungry or homeless or afraid of losing their homes, and for those who fear violence in their communities, including those who fear police violence. Let's just have a moment of silence. Thank you for that. So these are the darkest, longest nights of the year, but better times are ahead. We have the vaccines coming and the inauguration of a new environmentalist president. As the days get longer and the light increases, let's hope the coming year will bring us health and hope. Tonight's a very special meeting. Traditionally in December, we give out our group awards, and then we have people present a slideshow of their trip or adventure during the year that has passed. We have a bunch of awards to give out, and then we'll have a chance to see some really cool slides. If you know me, you know that I'm a science teacher, and so I want to share a cool astronomy event that's happening this week. And hopefully the weather will cooperate. Wishing for clear skies in December in Michigan is always a crapshoot. But we have the planets Jupiter and Saturn. They're now quite close together in the western sky just after sunset. Jupiter's the brighter one, Saturn's a little dimmer. If it's clear tomorrow night, you can easily spot the two planets because they'll be the two bright stars near the crescent moon. And then in the coming nights, the moon will move east, but the planets will stay quite close to where you saw them. And they'll get closer and closer together until December 21st, the night of the equinox, next Monday. They'll be so close together that you'll be able to see them both in the same view in your telescope or in your binoculars. And even with binoculars, you should be able to see the rings of Saturn and a few moons of Jupiter. They'll be very close together, practically touching. They haven't been seen so close together for 800 years. I also want to share a couple of wins that our group has had in the last month. We've been advocating with local units of government to reject the new consent agenda for remediating the plume of the toxic chemical dioxane, which the Gelman Corp spilled in Scioto Township decades ago, and to instead request Governor Whitmer to petition the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to make the plume a Superfund site. And this effort has been successful as Washtenaw County, the City of Ann Arbor, and Scioto Township have all rejected the consent judgment and written the governor to ask the EPA to make the Gelman Plume a Superfund site. This never would have happened without the groundswell of public support that we and many other groups organized. Some of our members who played leading roles in this advocacy were Vince Caruso, Roger Rail, Dan Bicknell, Rita Mitchell, and Nancy Schiffler. So congratulations, one and all. Another huge win on the state level has been Governor Whitmer's action to shut down the Enbridge Corp's egregious Line 5 pipeline, which carries oil under the Straits of Mackinac. If there was a breach in this foreign-owned and operated oil pipeline, it would forever foul the waters and beaches of our northern Great Lakes. You can submit a comment to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers about the proposed Line 5 tunnel project, and I'll put the website for the comment in the chat. They're only accepting comments until December 17th, the day after tomorrow. So there's an action item. I want to let you know that it's almost time for our executive committee election. Actually, the election is going on. Any day you'll be receiving your Lookout newsletter, which will contain a ballot. You can also vote online, and there will be info about that at our website. Because of the glitch in getting the newsletters out in time, the voting has been extended until December 21st, next Monday. And I want to thank the Elections Committee Chair, Christine Stead, as well as Richard Barron, Amanda Sweetman, Anya Dale, and Brenda Mckinney. Here's the part of the meeting, if we were meeting in person, where I would ask you to get up and introduce yourself to somebody you don't know. And I would appreciate it if 2 or 3 of you would just chime in and introduce yourselves and tell us why you tuned in tonight. And we'd especially like to hear from people who don't usually join our meetings, why you came tonight. I'm a teacher and I will call on you if you don't chime in.
This is Tom Serbowitz. I'm Amanda Sweetman's partner, and I'm joining tonight to share with you guys all about our trip to Isle Royale this year.
Woohoo! Anybody else feel like chiming in?
I'm Christine Stead. I've been working on the elections committee for a couple years. So I'm joining in tonight maybe to talk about that a little bit, and also because Dan made me, and you guys know how he is.
Thanks for that.
I've been to Isle Royale.
Anybody else?
I've been to Isle Royale.
When did you go?
Oh, about 1953 or 4. We went two years in a row, actually.
Wow.
We take the Copper Harbor in early September, take the Copper Harbor Queen to Isle from Copper Harbor to Isle Royale. And that would be the last trip of the Queen. So to get back, we'd have to take the Ranger to Houghton and then hitchhike back up to Copper Harbor for our car.
Now that's a story. Thank you for sharing that, Ron. So I want to tell you that next month's program is going to be called Windows on Biodiversity, and entomologist and insect photographer extraordinaire David Kappert is going to present, and he's here tonight, and I think he's going to give us a teaser preview tonight during the slideshow portion. Our program will be at this same link and same time, and it's Tuesday, January 19th from 7:30 to 9 o'clock. So be here. So like I told you before, this is our annual award recognition / slideshow. We'll give some awards to some outstanding activists who made environmental contributions in our region. And after that, it's your chance to share slides from a trip or an adventure that you took this year. Maybe they'll be closer to home because of COVID, but this is just such a good chance for us to have a vicarious escape, those of us who have been locked down for so long. The awards look like this. Here's one of them. Can you see that? They have a picture. I think that's the Graceful Arch in Utah. Maybe somebody knows. Ordinarily be handing them off to you, directly. But we'll send them to you. And maybe if you don't know for sure that I know your street address, maybe you could email it to me, which would facilitate the process of getting these awards to you in a timely manner. Right. Let me find my little cheat sheet here. So, our first award is called the Democracy in Action Award. That's not right. Okay, yes. The first award is the Democracy in Action Award. It recognizes members whose involvement in our community goes beyond the ballot box. The first one is for Janet Kahn. And Janet's played many environmentalist roles over the years and is a lifelong educator and one who educates educators. And she's the one who introduced us to voteforward.org, which was an opportunity to write letters to infrequent voters in battleground states. And as a group, we ended up sending over 1,400 handwritten letters to these voters. And Janet herself wrote over 450 of the letters. So congratulations and thanks for that, Janet. And you want to say any words to us?
I guess I started doing it in the 2016 election. A friend of mine put me onto it, and it was not hard. It was something I could do often while I was listening to somebody or doing something else. And I was so pleased when we first started writing the letters. We were down in Argus Farm Stop, on Packard, and I thought, oh, this is going to be great. We'll get to be with all the Sierra Club people, and then that was it. Back to my desk. But I had no idea that so many people would join in. And it was so exciting to be part of this national thing. Millions of letters were sent by people. I don't know. I'm really proud to be in the Sierra Club, and I don't attend as often as I should. But I think what a fine group of people. It's good work. So thanks. I'm embarrassed. I would have done this. I did it anyway. But it's nice to be here tonight. Thanks.
Yay. And our second awardee for this award is Susan Schmidt. Are you here, Susan? I don't see her name. She did a really cool thing, and Erica can definitely testify to this too. We wanted to have some kind of a fundraiser to help some sort of Sierra Club endorsed candidate. And Susan helped us decide to have our fundraiser for Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin, which Ann Brown works for her. And we ended up getting a little bit snarled up in some red tape, and we couldn't make it an official Huron Valley Group activity, but we tried to get all of you involved, and we ended up raising $5,000 for the Congresswoman, and Susan just hit the ground running on that and persevered through many obstacles and helped us to have that fundraiser, which was a big success. And the Congresswoman generously gave of her time to spend with us on the night of the virtual fundraiser. So congratulations to Susan, but she's not here. And then another awardee that's not here, and I just heard from him half an hour ago. He had a family commitment that precluded him from being here tonight, and his name is Melvin Parson. And this is really a cool thing. I've never met Melvin, but I've been admiring his work from afar. He runs We the People Opportunity Farm in Ypsi, And their mission is to break the cycle of incarceration in Washtenaw County by investing in the employment and development of formerly imprisoned folks, formerly incarcerated folks, in farming and gardening. And it's a really homegrown operation. And they had a very successful fundraising campaign this year where they raised $100,000 to really get their project up to the next level. And if you've ever heard Melvin talk about this, he's just a very passionate advocate. So they did reach their fundraising goal, but I'm sure they'd be happy to have more. And it's called We the People Opportunity Farm. Be sure to check out their website. So hooray for those people in absentia. So next, we have the Conservation Accomplishment Award. It recognizes activists whose efforts have yielded a tangible conservation victory over the past year. And this is just something to really celebrate. We have 5 people who are receiving this award. And I know at least some of them are here. We have Garfield, the Executive Director of the Ecology Center, Brian Mckinney, the CEO of Recycle Ann Arbor. We have council members Jack Eaton and Chip Smith, who have just left Ann Arbor City Council. And we have Ian Robinson, who's the president of the Huron Valley Labor Council. And together they did something that just seemed impossible. If you told them or me or anybody a year ago that this would be accomplished, I think we'd be very surprised. And that was to work together to get the city to sign a contract with Recycle Ann Arbor, local nonprofit Recycle Ann Arbor, to renovate and rehabilitate Ann Arbor's material recovery facility, which is the place where your recyclables go after you set them out on the curb if you live in Ann Arbor. And the city and the former contractor who ran that facility had allowed it to become so dilapidated that it had to be shut down, and it would take millions of dollars to restore it. And there just didn't seem to be any way to get that money together. And the city was at odds with Recycle Ann Arbor for various reasons. And so what happened was that our recyclables were getting shipped hundreds of miles away to be processed down in Cincinnati. And these people led the charge and attended the endless meetings and did the work and went through the red tape and jumped through the hurdles until finally this goal was reached. And it's a huge win-win for Recycle Ann Arbor and for the city. It doesn't cost the city any money up front. Recycle Ann Arbor was able to find private capital to fund the improvements. I was at a meeting today where I heard that the new restored materials recovery facility is likely to be open this coming fall to process our materials. They've gotten some amazing grants recently for some state-of-the-art equipment for sorting beverage containers. This is just a wonderful accomplishment. So let's hear it for these folks: Mike Garfield, Brian Buchanan, Jack Eaton, Chip Smith, and Ian Robinson. And Chip emailed me, and he wasn't sure he was going to be able to come. Are you here now, Chip? He had a little statement he wanted me to read, and I will. But how about if those of you that are actually here, if you'd like to say a word?
I'll go first. I really appreciate all of the effort that Mike Garfield and Ian Robinson put into this. We were really facing formidable forces within the city staff who wanted to cut ties with Recycle Ann Arbor. And bringing together a coalition of labor and environmental activists worked. It's a formidable coalition, and I encourage you to work with organized labor whenever you can. Similarly, I want to thank the Sierra Club for the muscle that they put into helping us pass the Gelman resolution asking the EPA to come in. That was another formidable task where we were working against the expediency of staff to do good environmental work. So thank you for your organization's participation in this.
If I could say a word, Dan, this is Mike Garfield. Thank you very much. It's awfully nice to be appreciated. Really grateful for this acknowledgement. I want to put out some thanks to Jack Eaton and to Chip Smith for the leadership that they showed on City Council in championing this issue, first among people on City Council. I do want to single out Ian Robinson too. Sorry he can't be here. Labor was an important, really important factor in making this happen. This will be the first, as far as we know, this will be the first privately operated, union organized MRF in the country. And it may be the only organized facility in the country, period. Also want to acknowledge Brian Mckinney, who's here, who's the leader of Recycle Ann Arbor, who really pulled all the pieces of the project together. But there are a lot of other folks who were involved in organizing for this, for the MRF, to make recycling local again in Washington County, to save the city millions of dollars, and to provide good paying jobs for the workers at the MRF. Lots of people and organizations in the community, and first among the ones who are not being acknowledged here today is the Sierra Club. Dan and all of you put a lot of effort into this campaign, and it's really made a difference. And you guys, Sierra Club has been at this for a long time. I was one of the leaders of the original campaign to raise the money to build the materials recovery facility in Ann Arbor. And that was a ballot proposal in, hate to say it, 1990. And I hate to say this, Nancy, but leaders of the Sierra Club at that time were key activists in making it happen. And particularly want to mention Nancy Schiffler and Doug Cowherd, who were co-leaders of that campaign way back then. So thank you for everything you do in this community, and thank you all so much for the acknowledgement tonight.
I think it's your turn, Brian.
Dan, I just want to echo the thanks to Chip and Jack for their leadership on the council. That was a heroic effort, and also the work that the Sierra Club and so many others. I'm pretty new to the community. I've been here for a couple years now, and it's truly amazing to see the collaboration and the cooperation among the various environmental groups. And I really feel like I'm at home. So this is a great opportunity. I wanted to say that I think the real win will be when we turn that facility back into a community facility again, and we do the zero waste work that we all aspire to do. So I thank you very much, Dan and Mike and Jack and Chip and Ian too. Thank you guys very much.
That's awesome. Chip Smith asked me to read this little statement. I sincerely appreciate this honor. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the folks who really deserve credit for getting the MRF reopened: Susan Hutton, Brian Weiner, and Mike Garfield. These three played very different roles, but made sure this issue stayed in the public eye and were the real engine that got this project approved. They are the heroes of this tale. So let's hear it for all those folks. Yeah. Okay. Well, I know you just wish that I would keep droning on and on and on, but the next award is going to be presented by Anya Dale. This is called the George Sexton Public Servant of the Earth Award, recognizing the contribution of local government employees and commission members whose efforts have helped protect our local environment.
Great. Thank you, Dan. So I have the honor of recognizing Missy Stultz, who is the manager of the Sustainability and Innovations Office at the City of Ann Arbor. Anybody who knows Missy is probably equally impressed and amazed by her endless energy and her commitment to helping make our community more resilient in the face of climate change. She's a wealth of knowledge and good ideas, but also one of those people who's able to turn those ideas into action, which is always an extra plus. And so for all those efforts, we would like to present Missy Stultz with the George Sexton Public Servant of the Earth Award for her tireless work and advocacy in creating the A20 program. Thank you, Missy, for your incredible commitment to helping Ann Arbor become carbon neutral by 2030. And Missy, do you want to say anything?
I do. We were doing a bedtime handoff, so apologies for that. I almost made it through a princess story before we got to this point, so I'll have to jump back in. I just really want to say what an honor and how humbling it is to receive this award and be with the vanguards of environmentalism and justice in our community. And this definitely is a team effort. We stand on the shoulders of the giants who've come before us. The easiest thing to do sometimes is still hard, and that's to make a commitment to something, and then to actually adopt a plan is even harder, and then to do the work is much more challenging. And that's the challenge before us, and that is only going to happen through collaboration, through partnerships, through transformative change, through systems change, and there is no better partner to work with than the Sierra Club and about 70 other partners in the A20 platform to really transform our space and make sure we leave a sustainable and just future for all. So I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart what an incredible honor it is and how excited I am to just keep doing it with you all. So thank you, and thank you for paving the way. That's a bad one. Thank you for charting a path forward for us to be successful.
Listen. Hey, just before we get to our next award, I want to say something because I see that Jamie has Leo there, so maybe he'll be Leo's bedtime any moment. Jamie wanted me to mention about our YouTube channel because we now have 7 or 8 of our old virtual meetings are up on our YouTube channel. And maybe when you get a chance, Jamie, you can put the link for the YouTube channel in the text. Okay? Good night, Leo. All right, and I think Ann is going to say a few words about our next recipient of the George Sexton Award.
Good evening, everyone, and let me say congratulations to all the award recipients, especially Janet. Janet is one of the reasons I'm sitting here. Janet and I met as volunteers with the Huron River Watershed Council years ago, and she invited me to an event at Island Park, and I was introduced to Lee Burton, who pulled me right on into the Sierra Club. So thank you, Janet, for all your hard work. Christian Cannon is someone I have known since he was born, actually. Born here in Ypsilanti, he's a product of the public school system. Christian actually is the one child of a single parent. His mother is blind in both eyes, so he came up through some hardship. But Christian has been a stellar student since I've known him, through Perry Elementary, through West Middle School, and through the high school. Christian is a mechanical engineering student at University of Michigan, studying business management and solar energy. Throughout the duration of his academics, Christian has helped to lead a plethora of sustainability projects for world-renowned companies like the EPA, General Motors, and Consumers Energy. In addition to his professional portfolio, he also serves as co-president of the University of Michigan's Grid Alternative Students for Sustainable Energy team. During his leadership, the team successfully executed numerous national and international community solar projects to promote environmental responsibility, sustainability, and social justice. Christian was elected into the office as Sustainability Commissioner for the City of Ypsilanti to help create a climate action and sustainability plan for the city, driven to succeed beyond managerial expectations by possessing strong leadership, interpersonal skills, and analytic, innovative mindset. Christian has served to be a real role model for students and for our community. Christian is not here tonight because he is in Belize heading up a sustainability project there. So again, my congratulations to him, and thank you for the award.
I guess we can let it go this time, Christian, because you're in Belize. That's so awesome. All right. So our next award, and I just feel so good about this. I think this is something that's been omitted for too long, and really an important person to recognize. This is called the Rachel Carson Communications Award. It recognizes individuals who have helped improve communication about the environment within the 3-county area of the Huron Valley Group. And this year, the award is going to WEMU's David Fair. You know, when I was growing up, I used to listen to Ernie Harwell and Paul Carey broadcast the Tigers on the radio. And there was something about those two gentlemen's voice that just made you feel all right with the world, and that you were just hearing the best that the Midwest has to offer. And that's the way I feel when I hear David Fair's voice every morning on WEMU. And he has developed and run the radio program Issues of the Environment, the weekly show, for 25 years. And I bet there are a dozen or more people on this call right now that have been interviewed on that show, because it shows you've arrived in the environmental activist world in our area when you get to be on Issues of the Environment. And David Fair just has such a wonderful radio voice. He's so knowledgeable and informed. He's so passionate about the environment, along with his co-host Lisa Wozniak. And one thing that I personally appreciate about David so much is that when he gives the weather in the morning, he often references people who get to work by bike. And that was me for decades. And I felt so invisible and then so seen when I heard David Fair many times saying, well, if you're driving or you're riding your bike or you're walking to work, be careful, because there's still a little ice on the road. And it just meant a lot to me. And I've often told David that story when we've talked. David is devastated that he can't be here tonight, but accepting the award for him from WEMU is Molly Motherwell. So you want to share, please?
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, David gets to work at 3 a.m, so evening meetings are not for him. So I'm very, very happy to accept this on his behalf and on behalf of the station. And you're right, David is hugely passionate about the environment and environmental coverage, and so is the station. And I think this recognition is so appropriate for him. He really throws his heart into the segment. I see many names of people who have been interviewed on the program, some more than once, like Mike Garfield. I know you've been on many, many times. So we're just really proud to be recognized for what we're doing in the community. It is a passion of the station, passion of David's, and I know that he thanks you very, very much for this award.
All right. We'll send it to him at the station so you can put it up there.
Yeah, well, he's a little bit modest. You might want to send it to me so people can actually see it.
I will, Molly. All
Okay.
right. Let's hope for 25 more years of Issues of the Environment.
Oh, at least.
All right.
Thank you.
So the next one is a no-brainer. This one's called the Huron Valley Group Newcomer of the Year. And this person could also be characterized as the newcomer of the decade or maybe even the century. It's Peyton Wetter, and Melinda Bostwick is going to make this presentation.
Yes, it's my honor to present this award to Peyton. I'd like to tell you a little bit about her, and then I'd ask her to come on and tell us how she found the Sierra Club. So Peyton Wetter is a senior majoring in environmental science at the University of Michigan. She has been passionate about the environment ever since she was a child, when she attended an environmental 5th and 6th grade school called Good Willie, I believe I pronounced that right, located in Grand Rapids. This passion followed her throughout high school, when she spent 100 days studying marine biology in the Bahamas. During her junior year, she decided to focus her studies on the environment in college as well, which led her to intern in Cape Town, South Africa, with National Geographic, researching great white sharks, as well as studying abroad in Sydney, Australia. So it is my pleasure to present this award to Peyton. Peyton, please come on and join us. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for nominating me for this award. I really appreciate it. The way that we got the Sierra Club group at the University of Michigan was I met with a handful of the people that are on this call over Zoom during Earth Fest, and they told me a little bit about the Sierra Club and kind of put the idea in my head, asked if I knew of any other students that might be interested in forming this group. So I posted on a few of the U of M Facebook pages and sent some messages to other students in my classes. And now we have a group that is over 100 students strong.
Yeah, that is a dream come true for the Huron Valley group, and we're just so lucky. We're just so lucky that we found Peyton. And I didn't know any of that stuff about studying great white sharks and National Geographic and South Africa and Australia and the other places. And I've been twisting Peyton's arm to be one of our presenters at a program, and I think she has agreed to do that. Is that right, Peyton?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so we'll be hearing more from her in 2021. Okay. I think we have 2 more sets of awards. So the first one is called the Care and Feeding Award. It recognizes those individuals whose behind-the-scenes work help keep the group functioning. So this is just the prosaic day in, day out stuff that needs to get done. And, you know, we're an all-volunteer group and everybody's super busy. And thank goodness that people step up and take care of things that need to be taken care of. And this year, it goes to Christine Stead and Richard Barron and Brenda McKinney, and it's because they variously served on and chaired our nominating committee and our election committees for the executive committee, the leadership of the Huron Valley Group the last couple years. So hooray for Christine, Richard, and Brenda. And I know Christine and Richard are here, and I hope they will say a few words. Christine, why don't you go first?
I don't see Richard. Why don't you go first?
Well, thanks. On behalf of the entire committee, appreciate this. This is, as you say, not high-profile work, and I want to express my particular appreciation. I was worried for a while that I was going to get the no-brainer award, so thank you.
Well, you all have made it easy to help support this important work. Nancy Schiffler did a great job last year mentoring us, as did Jason Frenzel, just helping us with the analytics side of things and making sure all the numbers tied electronically, all the things you'd expect, but he was very good at doing that for us. So we're hoping at Sierra Club is in really good shape for the future, that your background logistics work well, especially where it matters most, which is elections. As we all know, those are really important. So it's an honor to help be in the background in this way. Thank you so much.
And Christine and Richard, we really hope nobody is demonstrating outside your house when you're counting the votes next week, or threatening you or any of that stuff.
I think we'll be okay for this one.
But we know that you would carry on if you needed to.
We would do that.
Okay.
Yeah, indeed.
So the last set of awards is called the Huron Valley Group Chairs Award of Merit. And these people don't know that they're getting this award, but they are here, so we're happy for that. We have 2 outgoing members of our executive committee that have just outdone themselves in doing wonderful work these last 2 years. And Jason's going to present the first one, and I'll present the second one.
So the first is to Amanda Sweetman. Amanda has been a dear friend for many, many years, but when she took over the job at the farm at St. Joe, she certainly blossomed into her place in the world, at least for this decade. Amanda served on the leadership team for the last 2 years, very much helping Anna and myself myself and the whole team hold everything together. She's been the glue that binds, or perhaps as she says it, the water that flows around the hard rocks. And that's been very, very valuable to us in just plowing through the harder conversations. More importantly, her time at the farm at St. Joe's, she's really escalated the farm's ability to interact with other local nonprofits and the county, bringing on more and more interns and dietitians, additional staff, just a real escalation of the farm's capacity, so much so that St. Joe's has basically promoted her to regional work of the same ilk. So she's now putting in farms at other locations, including the Oakland facility. Truer to home, she was able to pivot this year and move their food production and their food distribution to families that need in the eastern side of the county, which is, as we all know, very, very important in these days. Stealing some stats from their social media, they boxed up well over 7,000 meals for local families, bringing in well over $100,000 to local farmers who have also been challenged in this time, and repeatedly serving 73 food insecure families. I think that's an amazing accomplishment, Amanda. Thank you for your ongoing leadership. If you'd like to say a couple words.
You guys, thank you. That's a surprise, and it's been such a joy to work with everyone. I feel like, Jason called me up one day and was like, "Hey, maybe you wanna think about doing this?" And I thought, well, heck, I love spending time with Jason, and I'm really in public engagement, so it seemed like a great fit. And I have to say, I learned so much from everybody on the call and about how real progress gets made locally with advocacy and at the state level and the national level. And I've particularly learned a lot about leadership from Dan. So I really appreciated getting to work side by side with all of you. And thank you very much for the experience and the award.
Hey.
And Jason.
I want to say how much I've loved working with you, Amanda. And one thing that you need to know about Amanda is she really knows how to crack the whip. She keeps things moving, and doesn't settle for mediocrity in thought or in action. And obviously, she has a big future, and we'll hear a lot more from Amanda Sweetman in the future. And so finally, it's my pleasure to present the last award to Anya Dale. And Anya is just such a lovely person. She works at the Campus Office of Sustainability at the University of Michigan with particular interest in reducing food waste and composting and so forth. If you've been in the university buildings or in the university dorms and seen how as little goes to waste as possible, that's a lot of Anya's work. And I'm so proud because Anya went through Forsyth Middle School, the school where I taught back in the day. And a little story about Anya is that when she got to high school, she started to suspect that the boxes that had the recycling box in the classroom, that the material that was in there wasn't really getting recycled. And so she got sanctioned for this, and she put some, I think, red dye on some of the papers in the recycling box in the classroom, and then later went and snooped out in the recycling dumpster and the trash dumpster to see where those papers were ending up. And so from that little seed of scientific experimentation, a career was born in the end. And there are just some people that you meet in your life that you just say, wow, what a lovely person, what a kind person, what a generous person. Even though she has a million responsibilities and an important job, she can't say no. and I've always had to hold myself back from asking her to do more and more and more things because she just doesn't know how to say no. And she's just been such a bright face and best foot forward for our leadership group and leading the outings program and helping cultivate John to be the new leader of the outings program. Just love you, Anya, and thanks for being part of our leadership for these last 2 years. And hopefully she's still here and will say a few words.
I am, but I feel like I'm going to be a little choked up. That was just very sweet and generous. Thank you, Dan, and everybody. Yeah, I guess I didn't know that you knew that story from high school, and I guess I'm still instigating and trying to uncover things much later. I would say I really appreciate it. Thank you. And I think that being with the Sierra Club has been pretty fantastic. I've been a life member for, I don't know, 15 years or something. But I would echo what Amanda said. I think being on the committee with you guys has been incredible and a huge learning experience. And I don't want to say no to people that are such, inspiring community members. So I think that that's part of the reason why I get roped in, because you guys are all great. So thank you. And I'm excited about the direction that the Sierra Club is going. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Dan.
Yes, sir.
We had one more award.
We do.
Yeah. Amanda called it the Mr. Rogers Award, and we'd like to present it to you. We might slot it under the Karen Feeding Award, but Mr. Rogers sounds right. Dan's been the leader for a couple of years now, and he, as all the conversations that we've just had, and all of the wins that we've just talked about, Dan saw those and issued them through. He helped facilitate all of our successes, right? And this is Dan's legacy and Dan's work every single day. He, as I've been told, it's just really hard to say no to Dan. He just has this casual, loving way to have just like a little chat with you and bring out your best ideas, and then they just blossom into being. And sometimes it's you that does the work, but he's not afraid to step in and help a lot also, right? And this group hasn't been without its challenges and its real work over the last 2 years. And Dan has just so graciously, calmly, and judiciously brought us all through that. And we've won so many friends in that process through Dan's just nature. Dan said to me a little while ago, he had two goals over the last 2 years. One was to make a real impact on the 2020 election. And I think as Janet's award and Janet's time illustrates, we have done that as a group, right? It wasn't Dan that did it, but he definitely facilitated it and helped. Won the whole leadership team over to supporting Janet and recruiting more people to help in her endeavor. That's true leadership, right? Leadership from beside. And his other goal, he said to me, is to make sure that our board, over the first few years of him being on, was to make sure our board is healthy and more representative of our community. Last year we brought on Ann Brown from Ypsilanti, and I believe it looks very promising that Taja Lee, also from Ypsi, is going to join us next year. And that's just wonderful. Jan and I are both very straightforward that we shouldn't be run by white dudes, but we need to issue in lots of other voices so that we can hand the baton off. And I think Dan has done an excellent job of those things, and so much more. But Dan doesn't really want things to be about him, so I'll stop there. And Dan, we do have a couple small gifts for you for appreciation. One is a Karen feeding basket that Amanda Sweetman has put together, and she will deliver to you. I'm not sure if it's you or your wife that deserves it more, because I hear that she put up with a lot of your time with us. And then the leadership team all joined forces and has made a donation to Detroit Flight Busters on your behalf.
Oh my gosh.
Dan, would you like to say a few words?
Well, I feel like I should go put on my cardigan. No, I don't have anything to say. Thank you. That's very kind.
It has been a delight working with you so far, sir.
All right. Okay. Well, that concludes that part of the meeting, and the rest is to go on people's trips with them. And I know for sure we have Amanda, Al, David. This would be the time to speak up if you've brought slides to share from a trip.
Photos to share too, Dan.
Say again?
I've got some photos to share as well.
Yay. And I do too if there ends up to be time at the end.
And Dan, if there's time at the end, I could go on for days.
Cool. Oh, of course, John. Sorry. Awesome. All right. Well, good. So we'll just go until nobody can stand it anymore. Maybe Amanda, you want to start us off?
Sure. Let me see here.
You can lead and I can do color commentary.
Dang it. All right. Let me make sure that I know how to share on Blue Jeans.
Jamie, do you have to give her permission to share her screen?
Why is it saying? Maybe somebody else should go first. It's making me do some system preferences stuff.
All right. David, do you want to go?
I would be glad to. Let me see if my screen works. So let me know if you see it. Hold on. Okay, how about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay. Do slideshow, and I'll say who I am. So David Cappert, and I'm from Ann Arbor. I've been gone for about 10 years. And yeah, there's not a lot I can add. I'm a good friend of Dan's, and so I really appreciate his invite for me to proselytize about insects, which I will do at any excuse. And so I'm not going to talk a lot about this slideshow. It's a little bit, as Dan said, a teaser for a program I'll do in January. But I thought I would do a calendar since the photo program I use just beautifully organizes things by month. And so I can just browse through and say, what did I see in February? And for someone like me, most of what I see in February or any other month is insects. So I can go all over the planet, and mostly I'm on my hands and knees in a leaf litter looking for stuff. So I recommend for everybody to take that approach. And I will say that for the stuff I will show you in these few slides, this is all things that anybody can see. Like, there's nothing exotic about it, except for the Belize stuff. You have to go to the tropics for that. But most of this is just right in front of you all the time. So I'm going to go to these places on the map, and I'll just mention about the map. This is my small advertisement for iNaturalist, which is the citizen science site that allows you to upload photos. And if you don't know what they are, you can get input from a huge community and get an ID. And then it makes these nice little maps about where you've been and so on. So I started in January, so it's a great head start. And this is the place that I was in Belize. And in the photograph in the upper left, that's the location that I was. And I put up a light sheet on that field and illuminated it with a powerful light, a mercury vapor light. It's an entomology thing. And so these pictures are from that light. So there's all within 10 feet on that sheet. So and this is a small fraction of what you see in such a setting. Lots and lots of moss, of course. That's Belize. Now February, I'm in, where was I? Connecticut still. And so if you're an entomologist, I mean, one of the things you do in the off season, it's really hard to find much in the field. So you do things in the lab. So for me, it's ants. And I spent a lot of time looking in careful detail at the faces of ants, trying to figure out what they were, and also just to admire their utter coolness. And besides doing things in the lab like this, you can also, in the winter, you can find ants underneath logs. So if you're just tip logs over, you'll see a citronella ant. They're little tiny things. They smell kind of lemony. They're really charismatic. And then you find these monster carpenter ants. Okay, so to continue the under the log theme, in March now there's a few things that are stirring more. And so if you look under logs, you will find bald-faced hornets. And it's a lot of these things that overwinter under logs, you don't know where they go. You know, these things were chasing you around in August, and in the wintertime, everything disappears, but not really. It's got to persist somehow through the winter. So these guys, and also that little sweat bee, you would find underneath logs through the winter. And a few other typical things. A different kind of sweat bee, Elysia blossom. And two of these you'll find under every log you ever look under, a millipede or a centipede, and you have to be kind of lucky to get a tiger salamander. Okay, April, I'm still in Connecticut. And this is, of course you run out in the woods and look for flowers. So I'm not all bugs. And these are all typical flowers you would see also in Michigan. But then I watch flowers because I want to see the bees. And just a bunch of other miscellaneous things that you see when you're wandering around in April. I like the butterfly in the upper right corner, that's a morning cloak. And you will see those as early as March. They're interesting because they overwinter as adults. So as soon as the weather's warm enough to fly, they're out. The dung fly in the other corner is something you will be rewarded for if you examine dog droppings, which I don't necessarily recommend. So in May, I'm still in Connecticut, springtime, full out. Some of the things you might see. And I noticed when I just grabbed these pictures out of my files that here I've got two nomad bees, and in the previous month I showed you another nomad bee. For me, this is a really interesting example of how it is that, well, for most people, bee means honeybee, and they would also recognize a bumblebee. There are hundreds of species, literally hundreds of species of bees in Michigan and in Connecticut. Okay, so in June, I came back out west. I'm in Oregon right now. That's where I currently live. And I work on a study of pollinators, so you're going to see more bees than you might otherwise have expected. So we do our studies in prairies. And the big study I'm involved with is concerned with pollinator networks. So if you've got 50 or 100 plants that flower in a meadow, who visits each one of those plants? And which pollinators do the plants share and which plants do the pollinators share? Like, how is everything connected up? So this would be, one of the flowers we're interested in is called Madia elegans. And these are things you would see on Madia. So bees for sure. And then there's a couple of hoverflies in the lower left, upper right, things that people often mistake for bees. But there's a huge number of these. These also on Madia elegans. Still in the prairies of Oregon in July. So the flowers are nice too. And again, these are all on flowers except for the lacewing. The lacewing is a predatory insect that feeds on aphids typically. Okay, and then in August I was back in Connecticut, and the little picture of a garden here is actually, it's a lot like a lot of gardens I would expect to see in Ann Arbor. It's just on one yard. It's surrounded by a fair amount of lawn and cement, and it's not like a hot spot necessarily for biodiversity, but there's a lot of stuff that you'll see in a space like that. So I had probably 30 species of things that were really interesting, and these are just a few of these, but any of these and more I would expect to find in Dan's yard also in Ann Arbor. If you bother to change your lawn into something more interesting, you can get all this stuff. So this is probably the commonest butterfly in Connecticut and in Michigan, the peck skipper. They're little brown guys, and a lot of people wouldn't notice them necessarily. 4 different kinds of bees. I think I probably saw 8 different bee species in the garden. These also, everyone in Michigan too. Then in September, I was going to move out to Oregon, so somehow North Carolina was on our way from Connecticut to Oregon. And so this is in a different garden, things I saw on the edge of it. September now, I'm almost to Oregon. We stopped in Idaho because the Willamette Valley on the west side of Oregon was under a huge pall of smoke. It was the giant wildfire season for us. So we had to hang in Idaho for a little while. These are super charismatic. This is a bee fly. I showed you earlier a different bee fly. This species, I don't remember the name of it, but it's one I had never seen before, and there were dozens and dozens. They were really easy to see and really hard to photograph. They're quick. Okay, now I'm back in Oregon in October. The one on the right is a snail-eating beetle. That's a snail. And an interesting thing for me is right underneath the head of this, it's a sizable beetle with this beautiful sort of amethyst edge to the elytra. And right here, I'm not showing you a close-up here, but there's little mites. And the mites clearly live on the beetle and probably feed on its prey. And it's the kind of thing, when you take photographs, a lot of times it's only later you see details that are like super interesting. Okay, so now you're in Oregon and the season's winding down and it's soaking wet all the time everywhere, so you start thinking about mushrooms. So I've spent a lot of time looking at mushrooms. But the other thing you get, if you look really closely at mushrooms, is all the invertebrates that live inside mushrooms. So see, the ones on the left are springtails. They're called plump springtails. Really cute. The one in the middle is another kind of springtail, and then it's a fungus gnat on the right. So in November, there's many fewer things to find. You know, if you're tired of mushrooms and you're looking for bugs, it's going to be tough. If you happen to be on a really sunny day when the webs will show and there's a lot of moisture, so they become more visible, you see spider webs every place. So in one location here, walking 6 feet from one spot, there were 15 spider webs like this. Just amazing. So close-ups of those. And now I'm all the way back to December, and what I do right now is I take the specimens that we collected from our pollinator study in the prairies and try to figure out what the heck they are. So I put things on a little stand and photograph them, and they look like this. So this is a leafcutter bee, and I can look at this for a long time. It's an advantage for insects which have exoskeletons. Everything that's interesting is on the outside of a bee, and I have to say that mammals and birds are just, they don't have that, you know, that much to show. So this is one of my favorite bugs, and I've got just dozens of things as interesting as this one. Here's a different leafcutter. And the thing about leafcutters is that they carry, you can see in the back end, you'd expect a honeybee to carry its pollen on a big, on a corbicula, a big pollen basket on its hind leg. Leafcutters use these, the scopy, these brush up hairs on the underside of their abdomen to collect the pollen. This one has it too. Okay, so that was really fast. That's it. Any quick questions or anything?
Nope, we're not going to do questions now because we have people waiting in line to show their slides. But
Absolutely.
Let's show some appreciation for David and come back next month for more of the same.
Yes, sir.
And different.
All right. Oh, stop sharing. There you go.
Did you figure out your thing, Amanda? Lay it on.
Yeah, okay, can you guys see that?
Mhm.
Great. So, yeah, I'm working on it. All right, here we go. 2 drivers. So let's see, we decided kind of a little bit spur of the moment to take a trip to Isle Royale when I learned that it was still open, despite the coronavirus. So Tom really took the lead on planning a trip.
Spur of the moment, week and a half of planning, plenty of time.
This is the difference in our personalities. I'm like, oh my gosh, a week and a half. Tom's like, plenty of time. So we ended up having just a really magical trip. We were on the island 6 nights, but really like 5 days. Started in Ann Arbor, drove up late, camped at Three Lakes Campground in Hiawatha National Forest, got up the next morning to finish our drive over to Hancock for the seaplane ride, did our hike across the island. How long was it? 51?
Just over 51 miles. Yep.
Just over 51
5
miles.
days of hiking.
And then we finished up the trip with some relaxing days on the Keweenaw, exploring that region of the country. So here's night 1. Got there in the dark, so the next morning was really a beautiful surprise.
Note that also typical of our trips, I think we planned to leave at like 4 p.m., worked most of a full day, but actually didn't get on the road until about 9:30 p.m. and then got to our campsite at like 2 a.m. And so I think we spent a total of maybe 5 hours at Three Lakes Campground. It's beautiful. We think we might go back.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. It was a great overnight stop. Got to the plane, which was really cool. Drove through Tom's first college campus, which I enjoyed getting to see a little bit of tech. How to fly and feel COVID safe. There's only 2 of you plus the pilot, and there's a window open the whole time.
Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned, but because of COVID, all the ferries were not running this season, and so seaplane was the only way to get to the island. And luckily they had availability, and we were able to get on. And it's a little bit dicey because it's so dependent on weather, and weather can be kind of variable up there. But we really lucked out and had beautiful weather, and we had a little excitement on the way home, which you'll see in a second. But it went quite well, and because of COVID and the fact that the ferries weren't running, there was far fewer people on the island than normal. And of course, it's the least visited national park in the country. And so I think there was a total of 300 people on the whole island while we were there.
But only 100 of them were hikers. Something I didn't know was all the boating culture for Isle Royale. So down right hand corner, you can see we're like still pretty clean. We're happy. Those cheeks are full. So the first thing we did, I put my stake in the ground and insisted that we do the Scoville Point Loop before we got started, because I wanted to see all of the plants that are along that edge, and it gets rated as some of the best, like the best 4-mile hike in all the national parks across the country, which those lists are silly, but it was really stunningly beautiful. We started off our trip with a swim. We swam every single day we were there.
I think that's true. Yeah.
Yep, we swam. And I've even got an insect in there for you, David. So if you can tell me what that is, that'd be great.
It's Toxomerus geminata.
Awesome.
That was a joke, but that's amazing. Thank you.
They're very distinctive. It's a hoverfly.
You were going to be on the call. I got some really cool caterpillar pictures.
Yeah.
Oh, hit me up with those later. I'm happy to do it.
Sweet.
Yeah, we kind of focused on like mostly macro pictures, but we did get some cool micro pictures as well. Both of insects and plants. And we caught the tail end of the thimbleberries still being ripe, and so like throughout our entire hike, like at any point in time, we could maybe take 5 steps off the trail and find some thimbleberries to eat. So that was really wonderful as well.
Yeah. So here we are. We've gotten our coaching from the very handy, lovely ranger, and we're getting started. Again, you can see a trend, guys. We often do things kind of later in the afternoon, evening, when you're thinking like, hey, you should be at camp, but we were just getting started. So we went Rock Harbor to 3 Mile. That pack is heavy, day 1. I tell you what, this was my first real backpacking trip that was going to be more than an overnight. So that was fun. But we, hiked our couple miles. We got to 3 Mile campground. This was the first morning. And it just like all the stress from like work and cell phones and everything just kind of rolls off of you.
Yeah, Isle Royale is an extremely peaceful place and like pristine wilderness. It's a pretty incredible place to experience.
I'm so curious if we go back or learning from some of all of you, it felt pretty special to get into these shelters because it makes camping really easy. So we swam again here. That was a great night. We watched some snails do some very interesting behaviors. So now I'm really into insects. Thanks for your presentation, David. So let's see. That first bit, we did 3 Mile to Daisy Farm for lunch. Poor Tom. Actually, he knows this about me, and hopefully you put up with this. But I'm, instead of like hands and knees looking at insects, I'm just like butt in the air, always looking at plants. Like, what is it? Do I know what it is? Like, tell me what it is. So I think this is a bottle gentian, but I didn't know it at the time, so I was very frustrated, but also very intrigued. Did you want to talk for a little bit?
No, you can keep going. I'll interject.
Okay. So we kept hiking after Daisy Farm in a nice midday swim. Superior was surprisingly warm. I think it was like 64 degrees on the surface or something like that. So, still take your breath away, but it felt good. So this was our first day of lots of up and downs because we'd been skirting the coast up until then. And I started to really realize how heavy my pack was and how rocky the trail was.
Yeah, so this was probably one of the first big vistas or views that we saw. And behind me there in the background is Thunder Bay in Canada on the northern edge of Superior.
Yeah. So I think this was a 12-mile day total. And so as an ecologist, so Jason said I run the farm at St. Joe's now, but my training, I have a master's degree in wetland plant ecology, and I love native plants and native ecosystems, and this is probably one of the more intact systems I've ever spent real time in. If they're invasive species, they're not overwhelming. You look down, you look up, the matrix of plants was just so diverse, right, at every single level. And some of the reasons I could point to as a wetland ecologist, your ecosystem engineers, your beavers, so for example, are still on the landscape. And so all of that diversity, microsites, macrosites, all of those things are still there. Plus the island itself has an interesting layered geology that creates a lot of diversity in underlying geology. So that night we got to McCargo Cove, back out to Superior. Got to jump off a dock for our swim that night, which was lots of fun. I was really tired by this point. I don't know that I've ever walked 12 miles with a big heavy pack on, so I was a little shocked at how much work that was. But we were still having fun. Got into a shelter that night too. Kind of took our time in the morning.
Yeah, since day 2 was pretty intense, heavy packs. That was the longest hike that we had done. I can't say that we did very much training in advance, but we dialed it back on day 3 a little bit. And going into this, like I had set up 2 plans for a potential hike. One that was like pretty darn aggressive. I think I called it the YOLO drive fast and take chances route. And the other one was a little bit dialed back, and we ended up kind of somewhere in between. So we had some contingency plans, and there's enough camp spots on Isle Royale that you're able to kind of adapt to your plan as you go, as long as you're prepared to do so. But day 3 is the start of a slightly more relaxing day.
So this is the day that I realized that Isle Royale is really backpackers' paradise. Every campsite has water. There's no bears. There's latrines at your campsites. They're all like 6 to 8 miles apart. And for us, at least, there were no people. I think I got a total of 8 mosquito bites the entire time. So, plus there's all this other interesting stuff. So we found some old
so I guess
stuff.
my pristine wilderness comment earlier, this place is a really interesting balance of like pretty decent rustic accommodations at the campsites, but everything in between is like quite pristine and really incredible. And on this trail up to Todd Harbor is the Monong Mine, and so the left 2 photos are from some time that we spent exploring the mine. It was originally mined like 4,500 years ago by natives, and then it was rediscovered in the late 1800s. And this is a quite active mine in the late 1800s for a few years that produced a fair bit of copper. I think it was the only mine on the island that was considered to be a commercial success. And they pulled like one massive piece of float copper out of this mine that was like 5,000 pounds. I think one of the largest that's ever been found.
Engineer.
Yeah.
Plants. Engineer. Plants. But just continuing to have your breath taken away by the vistas that you get, right? That you're down in the swamp and then you go up to the top of the ridge, and it just continues to be amazing. So we did get to Todd Harbor. I love Superior for its various beaches, different fun things here. We saw some of those morning cloaks, I think you called them, David. So this was a special campsite.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of our favorite campsite, and we stayed way out on the point that's pictured to the upper left there.
Yeah. This was really special, and this was the only night we had some weather. The rain came in, so we got the experience of a really dramatic storm blowing across Superior as that happened. And this happened a couple times while we were up there. I couldn't show the video, but there were these like waves, clouds of dragonflies that would like swirl above you, and you were just like in the like, I want to call it a flotilla, but that's for
the maelstrom.
That's for water. But it was just so amazing to see them up close and in great numbers. How they were using us. I'm sure we were attracting insects.
Yeah, and they're super agile hunters, and I'd never seen dragonflies feed in that way before. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So that was a really special night. And then by far my favorite section of trail was the next morning, Todd Harbor to Hatchet Lake. And so much so that I didn't really get very many great pictures. I was too busy enjoying it. But it was like a cathedral. There were your birches with the white bark and that very light green canopy, and bracken ferns and thimbleberries and just every type of plant, but so open. And we got so lucky with the weather. It was mid 70s during the day, like high 50s, low 60s at night. The trails hadn't been maintained, I think, the same way they often are in a normal year. The trail crews hadn't been out in the spring, so we'd been warned that this trail was potentially kind of like dangerous. But there was just a beaver dam across it, so we walked across the beaver dam, which was kind of cool. And then we saw our first large fauna, and I was happily looking at plants and looking at plants.
Yeah, and then we came over a ridge, and of course my head's always up looking for things moving around because that's what I tend to be more interested in initially. And I saw a giant bull moose like just over the ridge from us, and we're walking ahead, and I stop and say, Amanda, and she still continues to walk forward with her head down, and Amanda, moose, and she eventually stopped, and probably within 30 yards of this giant bull moose. So that was pretty exciting.
That was pretty fun. Stopped for lunch, had a really fun experience with some loons calling to each other with their young. So there's 2 young in that picture and an adult, and there's another adult, and they were calling back and forth. I would recommend that as a campsite. That looked like a lot of fun. And then we just kept on going. This was another 12+ mile day, all the way to Lake Desor. And a long stretch on the Greenstone Trail, and it was pretty dry. So it was still interesting, but not kind of like that take your breath away scenery. But Lake Desor was fun. Again, you get to like walk right down to this inland lake from your campsite. Got some real fun pictures of Tom here as enjoying the camera. And then the next day, really our last hike, so we did Lake Desor to Wendigo, and this was really cool. It was all downhill, which was great after being tired. Our packs were lighter, and an intact hardwood forest is so full of fungus. Guys, it was just insane. Every place you looked, there was fungus. This is just a small smattering of what you see. So I was just blown away by the fungus. I was, as per usual, like, look at that fungus, look at this fungus. I don't understand what that thing is. And so we got to do that last little bit, and I don't know that we put any in here, but we saw a lot of moose in Wendigo as well. And then, not that I necessarily needed my faith in humanity restored, but we had this just amazing gift at the end of our trip. We were walking around Wendigo, and these fishermen from Duluth had caught a bunch of lake trout, and we were kind of like wandering around, kind of like, oh, that smells really good. And they're like, come back in like 15 minutes and we'll, you got to try some. So they fed us dinner, and we had our first beer in 5 days or 6 days. It was just absolutely a magical, and my favorite, fresh French fries cut right on the dock. And then on our way home, the next morning, so there was a big storm that night. Moose like crashing all around our cabin, which was pretty interesting. And then, so you get up, the plane's delayed. Pilot comes up and he's like, get in the plane, we gotta go now.
Yeah, there's like a break in the clouds, and then this de Havilland beaver like appears over the treetops and like does this swooping turn and comes flying into the bay. And we go running over with our packs, and like we weren't waiting at the dock, and so he was very upset with us that we weren't waiting for him. And he threw our packs in the plane and threw us in the plane, like immediately took off and like got back through the hole in the clouds, and then flew all the way to the other end of the island, which wasn't part of our plan, to go to Wendigo to pick other people up, because when the weather hits up there, their schedule gets all crazy, and they're trying to get people to and out of the island however they can. So we ended up having to stay at Wendigo on the other side of the island. Rock Harbor, the other side of the island, for probably another 2 or 3 hours while another thunderstorm cell moved past, and there was another break, and they quickly loaded people up, and we shot up through it and kind of made it back to Hancock safely. But it was exciting.
It was definitely exciting. So there's our itinerary, and maybe we'll go back next year.
That's it. Thanks, guys. Any questions for us?
No questions.
Oh, yeah, no questions. Sorry.
Hey, Tajli, what did you bring to share?
I just brought a couple of photos, really quickly, nothing extravagant. See if I can get my screen up. Okay. So, I had an opportunity to go to Florida early this year in February, and there's I think this might be a blue heron. Sorry, the slideshow just keeps going. But I always take pictures of like everything beautiful that I see. So that's it. This is a crown of thorns that I saw while we were walking to dinner. I think this, sorry, I might just pull that out. I think this is maybe a banyan tree. It looks like a banyan roots, but I'm not really sure. I'm not an expert on everything. I just like to take pictures. And let's move to our next one. We stayed at the, this was a work trip, and we stayed at the PGA Spa and Resort, and we got lucked out because like the place we were supposed to be at was under construction, and somehow they put us in this magnificent location that was so beautiful, and we could walk everywhere, and it was really nice. This is here in Michigan. This is on Jerusalem Road in Chelsea. And I was just driving down the road one day, and I do a lot of driving for my job. Sometimes I can drive up to 6 hours in a day. And I will just pull over and take a picture because it's so scenic and our state is so beautiful. And that's where this is at. This is a 100-year-old tree in my neighborhood, and it's at we call it the old Kettering location. There was an elementary school, Kettering, in Sugarbrook, which is where I live on the east side of the township in Ypsi Township. And this tree is way back. It's a 12-acre lot, and it's way back at the back of the lot. And we walk there with our dog. And it's just a really big open space. And we're also fortunate enough to use this space this summer to hold a Juneteenth festival. And we got about 100 people to come out from the neighborhood, and we had food and dancing, and census information and voter registration drives. And it was really wonderful that we have this large open space in our community. And the school district was nice enough to allow us to use it. I don't know what kind of pod this is, but I saw it while we were walking our dog in the neighborhood. This is another pod from a gum tree. I just love the way it looks, and so I decided to take a picture of that. This is my dog Benny and my husband Justin, and we are at Loon Feather Park, which is about 1.5 miles from our house, and the water that you see behind here is Ford Lake, and this park goes right up to the lakefront, and there's a little dock area where you can kind of walk out onto the water a little bit also. Here I am in the UP as well. This is Thomas Rock Park, and the little sliver of water you can see here is Lake Independence, and right behind that is Lake Superior. So it kind of blends in with the clouds, and again, it's another work trip, so I get to go all over the state, and I love to take some time to walk around and admire our beauty in Michigan, and I was fortunate enough to be there when the colors were starting to turn as well. So here's another picture, Lake Independence back here, and then Lake Superior is that lighter blue color right underneath the clouds. And Thomas Rock Park is just northwest of Marquette by maybe 8 or 10 miles or so. This is a little pigeon, and if you've been to the UP and if you've driven to Marquette, there are a ton of lakeside parks, scenic parks that you can just drive up, and there's a little parking spot, and then you just walk like 100 yards and you're at the lake. It's so gorgeous and beautiful. And whenever I'm up there, I stop at probably 5 on my way to where I'm going because I just can't help it. It's so gorgeous. Here's another Lakeview Park, scenic area that's just off of the roadway, and they're always deserted, and it's so serene, it's so beautiful. It is cold because it was the fall, so I did not go swimming, but I did put my toes in the water. And another view as well. And I really like this one. This is another of the roadside parks because this is a little lake here, and I just love the reflection of the sky and the tree line as well. I mean, it's just gorgeous. It's beautiful. And a picture of the clouds. I just like to take pictures of anything that I find that just looks nice to me and pretty, and admire our nature in all of its forms. This is a butterfly, obviously. I think it's on a zinnia, and this is actually at Chris and Ann Savage's house, and you can see in the background they have a 3-legged dog named Bug. He photobombed us with his butt. But they have a really wonderful garden that they use to grow vegetables, a lot of which they give away to food banks. And this is just a picture of their zinnia that they have that borders their garden. And I think I had one more picture of a tree in my backyard from the snow. And that's that one. So this is just my backyard, and we had a heavy snowfall way earlier this year, and I just love the way the snow looks on the branches when the tree doesn't have any leaves. So that is those are my little adventures.
Wow. Thanks, Tyler.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's your turn, Al. Thanks for being patient.
All right. I'm presenting because Dan asked me to present.
And if Dan asks you to do something, you do it. Click here to start sharing screen. Okay, so I had planned to go cycling in Africa, and because of COVID, I couldn't do it. I became concerned about my mental health. And along with Christine, I'm on the committee that's building the border-to-border trail, and decided I would see what I could learn by riding on every paved trail in Michigan and in every county. Since I'm not willing to stay overnight, I wasn't able to get to them all, but I have 16 left. I actually have a cabin right about here in northern Lake Michigan. And it turns out there are a lot of trails, paved bike trails in Michigan. There are like 150. And I just have some photos. I'll give you a second to guess what this is. No, this is the Blue Water Bridge. This one has a hint in it right here. This is the Zilwaukee Bridge. As you can tell, I've been around the state. This one you could never guess. This is Vermontville, Michigan. And who knew there was a Vermontville, Michigan, but they have quite a nice bike trail. Any guess as to what this is? This is Tunnel State Park in Holland. And when you get the other side of the tunnel, this is the view. It's a beautiful little park. Anyone know where the 40-Mile Point Lighthouse is? It's north of Alpena, along this bike trail, which is an absolutely beautiful bike trail. I would have you guess, except when I look at this, it's pretty obvious. It's the Lake St. Clair Metro Park. This is a giveaway. This is Alpena. Anybody know where this is? This is the MSU campus. Lansing has quite a nice series of bike trails, actually. This is down near Monroe. Actually, I think it is Monroe. A scenic bike trail in absolutely terrible condition. Anybody know where Portland is? Unlikely.
Towards Grand Rapids.
No, I don't think so. I think it's west of Tawas. They all blend together, by the way. When you've ridden, it was an insane. This is an insane task because there's a lot more driving in a car than there is cycling on bike trails. I mean, literally, I did 10, 12-hour days where I would drive, get on a bike trail, and most of that was driving. It's a crazy thing to do. This is Sanilac. Well, this is interesting. I did this fall during the election, and I would say that the Trump signs outnumbered the Biden signs by maybe 50-1.
Ooh, whoa, wow.
And by size, the total area of the signs, it had to be 100-1. This flag is in Union City, Michigan, and the picture doesn't do it justice. This is just a massive, massive flag. And show you what I did. This picture's taken at sunrise in Tawas, and I left from Ann Arbor. I can't tell you how crazy it was, but it's been interesting, and I've learned a lot about bike trails. So that is my my presentation.
After you finish your self-appointed task, you'll have to come back and present to us again. If you don't know it, Al has biked on every continent, including Antarctica, and he presented to us about that some while back.
This is crazier. This is nuts.
So, Al, you might stand corrected. It looks like John looked up Portland, and you shouldn't try to contradict Tajali when it comes to driving around Michigan. She knows where everything is.
I'll have to look it up. I do have an Excel file that is nuts.
Well, your thing said the Portland River, so maybe the Portland River is in a different place from Portland, Michigan. Anyway, that's awesome. Thank you, Al. John, you want to share a few with us? Is there such a thing? You're muted.
You're on mute. Hey, John, we can't hear you.
He's muted.
Is that better?
Yep. Thanks.
Yeah, and that's halfway through my spiel. I'm not sure any of my pictures are from outside Washtenaw County, but we'll see what we can get. There might be some in Livingston, and I will just kind of go through the year. This is just as some of you know, I tend to go out and hike a bit. I think I was out something like 220 times this year. And so we'll just start. There's, I didn't plan on giving much commentary, but if you have a question or something, give a holler and I'll try to answer. So this actually, I did get trained and got to do some controlled burns with the Ann Arbor NAP. And so this is at Leslie Golf Course.
John, we can't see your screen. I think you need to go up to the screen sharing.
Oh, cripes. Details, good Lord. Is that working at all? It doesn't look right.
Looked good to me a moment ago.
All right, let's see what we can do. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well then, this is the start. This is just in January. Some ice formations on some red osseous in Fleming Creek.
Wow.
And here's Leslie Park Golf Course in flames. This guy happened to come across out in a Barton nature area right here in Ann Arbor. We considered each other for a while, and then it decided to leave. Probably getting into what, late March, early April. Guess we could play the guess where this is. That's the Arb at dawn. So Amanda, here's a bloodroot leaf for you.
That's absolutely gorgeous.
So the spring ephemerals are starting up. If anybody can explain to me why ice does this on small ponds, it's crazy stuff. Soon to be trillium. And some cut leaf toothworts. That's some Pennsylvania sedge, I believe. A couple of mergansers for Dan. And these are out at, that's Willow Pond at Mathai. I'm more into charismatic megafauna than microfauna, I will confess. So this, all right, this is just a plain old skunk cabbage. The thing that struck me when I was looking at this is that sucker has a coronavirus in the middle of it. Ruin enemy.
Those are greater yellow legs.
Oh, yes, greater yellow legs, yeah. Yep. Dutchman's breeches. And my take on a trout lily. There's some Christmas ferns starting to unfurl. I'll let David tell us what that is.
Sweat bean, Lasioglossum.
There's another controlled burn. This one is out at Reichert Nature Preserve, one of the Legacy Land Conservancy preserves out northwest part of the county. That's at Stinchfield Woods, just some blood roots with the sun behind them. Tajali, there's a great blue heron. That one's on the Huron River in the Arb. And that's an atypical trillium. If you're really careful when you're out in the woods, you'll see some trillium leaves that don't seem to have a flower. We have two types of trillium that have the flowers down underneath the leaves. That's a bishop's cap. The flower itself is maybe somewhere 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch across. Another trillium. All right, so this is a bald eagle that we saw at Island Lake coming out of the trail one day, and here's this bald eagle flying off with a fish. A dwarf ginseng down at Nan Weston. Dan?
Oh, that's looks to me. I want to say it's a great crested flycatcher. No, it isn't. It's a yellow-billed cuckoo. Holy smokes!
It is a yellow-billed cuckoo.
Nice shot.
That was at Nan Weston. And so this guy, or it's actually probably the mom. There's a kind of secret bald eagle nest on the west side of Washtenaw County that had two young that fledged the nest just fine this fall. So I was out there a couple of times, and it's just a blast to watch them. I could spend hours and hours out there. Mayapple flowers. And that is at Park Linden, and that's about a 4 to 5 foot long northern water snake, which is huge for northern water snake. It was probably 3 inches or more in diameter at its midsection. It was up in a tree, maybe 10 feet off of where I was. It surprised the heck out of me and kind of scared the heck out of me too. And sometimes the sunlight is just right. Horse or cow parsnips at Mathai. And also at Mathai, they're one of their tulip trees. Geesh, a bunch of them. Equisetum, horsetails. Just a sweet water lily. That is a snake-mouthed orchid. One of my favorite milkweeds, it's a butterfly weed, a milkweed that doesn't actually have milky sap. And this I love. This is just at the Huron Meadows, I think, but it reminds me of some of the forests in southeast Alaska. Yeah, that's a snapping turtle. When I first saw it, it was about 30, 40 feet out in the water on its side. I looked at it. I thought it was a dead deer because the part of it you can see sticking up here is about the size of a deer's haunches. And that thing, I think its carpus is probably 2.5 feet long. Far and away the biggest snapping turtle I've ever seen.
Wow.
Goat's beard. Oversized dandelion. That's just plain old thistle. Michigan lilies. More butterfly weed, this time with me. There's a tiger swallowtail on a button bush. Okay, here's an osprey with a fish. It is actually doing a mating dance where it will fly probably, I don't know, 500-600 feet up in the air. And then it does a series of swooping dives, and then it stalls out. And it literally, it's the way you see it, it stalls up and is going almost vertical and just hangs there for a minute, screeching the whole time. The curious thing is this was probably in August, which seems a little late to be attracting a mate, but he was giving a good effort. All right, David, this is one hopefully you can help me on. The big one, is obviously a giant eastern swallowtail, but down here we have some sort of clear wing moth.
I don't know if David's still on.
You're right. It's a clearwing moth. There's only two that you see. Hemaris thisbe. There's the snowberry clearwing and another species. So there's not too many choices. Nice picture, though. They're hard to get.
Thanks. And then if you want to take a shot at who this guy is flying through the air.
I would say it's almost certainly a flower longhorn beetle.
Okay.
You can see the long antennae on it. That's a giant clue.
Oh, yeah.
And then the elytra are very pointed and narrow.
Thank you. Another tiger swallowtail on swamp milkweed.
Oh, I was going to say in that previous picture, what was that? What was that spot between those bugs?
This?
Yeah, you see behind the butterfly and the flower, and that spot. Move over just a little bit more. Yeah, right there. What is that?
That's a bee, and chances are it's what's called a small carpenter bee. You can't say for sure, but it's a bee for the way it's holding itself.
Wow.
Okay. Wow, that's good. I didn't even identify that, but yeah, it just looks like, I don't know, maybe poop or something like that.
Yeah, I only attempt IDs like that.
I don't know.
I only try to idea it when I know that there's probably not someone who will correct me. If there were a bunch of entomologists, I'd be much more cautious.
Right, so,
Okay. Thank you.
so I've done several hikes with Ellen Weatherby over the last year, and her comment on being a botanist is one of the key requirements is to speak with authority.
There you go.
All right. There's a green heron. Sandhill cranes. All right, so this one, I can't claim, I'm fortunate enough, this one, I think Katie Carlisle was, we were doing a service day, and we were literally just walking through the field at Divine Preserve, and she stops and points this out. I have no clue how somebody sees a praying mantis in amongst the litter, but. And then I wish James Schmidt were here. He caught this when we were out at Park Linden. David?
Well, it's a walking stick, certainly. And yeah, I can't go beyond that.
It's 2 walking sticks.
Indeed.
It is a mating pair of walking sticks.
Yeah.
Crazy. They were just hanging on the bottom of this multiflora rose. And somehow James saw them, and anyhow, I'm lucky to hike with people who have great eyes. This is just right here in town. That's Hubler Langford. You get up early and go out and catch the sun coming through the trees. And this is out by Pickerel Lake. And just Lily Park South, a cormorant down in a Duck Potato Pond. And this was just early November. I decided to do some hiking on the Waterloo Pinckney Trail. This is up at Green Lake. Red-tailed hawk out at my thigh. For a bit, thought maybe I was dinner. Yep. And Amanda. This is St. Joe nature area out at St. Joe campus that Amanda suggested that we go and check out. And so I happened to get out there one day at sunset and get the Huron River and beautiful shots of the riverbank. That's it.
Those were just terrific. Wow. You have such a good eye, John. Everybody's photos are just tremendous. I'm wondering if we should wrap it up.
Yeah. Thought you had some, Dan.
I don't know. Is everyone's attention span shot already?
I've got about 8 slides from the Meridian State Park.
Lay 'em on us.
Meridian Baseline State Park. This
Sure.
is the surveying start for surveying the townships in Michigan.
Do you see where share screen is up at the top?
Yeah, I'll go there. Let's see here. It's a PowerPoint presentation here. Okay, good. Go back to the start. Okay, here's Lansing and Jackson and Leslie, the little town of Leslie.
We can't see it, Ron. You have to go up to the top of the screen, and there's a screen icon. It's next to the hanging up red phone.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm out of that. How do I get back there?
It's hidden on your screen somewhere. Maybe move some windows and you'll see it.
Right there. That. See if I can get back to my. I can't seem to get both of them at the same time. Oh, let's see here. Do you see it now?
No. Are you on our window where you can see us? There we go. There we go.
Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Can you see it now?
Yep.
You see my point, my slides?
Yep.
Okay, here's the little town of Leslie. And this blue line is the top of the county. And there's a little notch right there where that line makes a little jog. And on Google Earth, you expand that. There's the little jog in the county line, and this is Meridian State Park. There's a parking lot there, and there's a trail going through there. Meridian Baseline State Park from Michigan. There's a map of the roads. The parking lot is there, and then the trail goes through here, and there's two spots where there should only be one, but they made some mistakes back in the 1800s in surveying, and they surveyed these townships to the west from this spot, and they surveyed the townships from the east. I'm sorry, from the east. The west is from this point, from the east is from this point. We'll go on, we'll see those. Townships in the east were surveyed from this point, and the townships from the west were surveyed from this point. This is the northern marker for east measurements, and this is what you see, the marker east baseline, and that is in line with Baseline Road or 8 Mile Road. This is the Meridian, north-south Meridian for surveyors. This was 1813, and this is the south mark for surveying the west townships, and the west baseline, and this gives the counties. Jackson County's over here, and Jackson County's over here, and Ingham County's up there. The south marker. This is a historic monument for this is the parking lot, and the other side of the historic marker. And I've got some of the main information just over here. That in 1785, there's an order to survey lands 6 miles square. Township, 6 miles each way, so a total of 36 square miles. Edward Tiffin was one of the surveyors. Get this out of the way. Can't back up. How come? Doesn't want to back up. Anyways, to get to those markers from the parking lot, you have to walk 7,569 feet round trip, 1.4 miles round trip from the parking lot. Now my